Hi there, my name is Blago and I would like to welcome you to this course which is called Master Excel Formulas, Make the Leap to the Next Level. Before starting with the materials that I've prepared here, I would like to give you a quick overview in terms of the structure of the course. So this course has 7 parts. Each part has a specific number of formulas and obviously these formulas are grouped based on their frequency of use and their similarity as well. If you're here, that means that you've realized the importance of having really good analytical skills, and these skills they are improved, or they start with let's say Excel, and probably one of the most important aspects of Excel is obviously the Excel formulas, which allow you to analyze huge quantities of data, of course, and come up with the different outcomes that obviously you want to. Without wasting any more time, I would like to start with the first part of the course, which has probably the most frequently used formulas in Excel. But before that, I've included a quote of the day. I'm a big admirer of these quotes, really, because they provide the necessary motivation to just keep going. I hope and that they are going to motivate you as well. This one states, if you're not moving forward, you're moving backwards. There's no middle ground. So let's start with the first group of formulas. That is the sum group of formulas, which includes sum, sum-if, and sum-ifs. So sum, probably the most simple function in Excel. In terms of the structure of the function, you need to have a start range and an end range. So a start cell, really, and an end cell as well. When is this function used? It is used every time you want to actually sum something. Then sum-if and sum-ifs. These two formulas, they allow you to sum based on a specific criterion or criteria. So sum-if allows for the summation of a range of cells that meet a specific criterion, whereas sum-ifs allows for the same thing but with more than one criteria. And if I show you an example now for all these formulas, sum here, what we can do is we have this range here and we want to sum it, and this is what we do. So the sum here is 56. In another scenario, what we can do is we can just select the specific cells that we want to sum, and then separate them using either semicolon, as in this case, or just a comma, because most of the Excel versions they use just a comma, but my version here uses the semicolon, so that's why I'm using semicolon here. So this is what we get. So 1 plus 3 plus 4 equals 8, and then the sum-if here, if we just type in the formula, and now we need to find the volume for the grapes, the pears, apples and oranges, based on the volumes that we have in this range here. Just to delete this one here first of all. So now if you remember, sum-if usually starts with the criterion range. So this is the criterion range. I'm just gonna go and fix it with the dollar signs. Then I'm going to select grapes, which is obviously our first example, and then I have this sum range here. So we get 338. So the volume for the grapes in our sum range is 338. We can either drag this formula down, or we can just copy paste it, really, to get the volumes for the other types of fruit as well. Now using sum-ifs, so the example that I have for sum-ifs here, asks us to find the total sales in Walmart for all the wines that have a price of $6.99 here. So if we just start typing the function some ifs, and then we need to start with the sum range first. If you remember the structure of the formula, and then the first criterion range should be the price here, and we go select that range, and we separate that using the semicolon, and then we select the price here as well, and then we need to go and do the same for the second criterion range, which is here, and then we need to select Walmart. So what we get is total sales of 134,739 units for Walmart for the wine that costs $6.99. Okay, so going back to the presentation now, what we have, the next group of formulas is average, the average group of formulas. So the logic of these formulas is pretty similar to the logic for the sum formulas as well, and again the structure is very similar as well. So just to give you an example, now I'm going to go to the spreadsheet that I have here again, and go to the examples for average. So just to show you, we have average, and we just go select the range here, and we do this. So 5.09 is the average. Again, if we just go and do the same for these cells here, we have how many cells? 3 cells that we need to get the average for, and 267 is the average. Now the example for the average if is here, and what we need to do is we need to get the average for the types of fruit that we have here. So we can start typing the formula, and now we need to select the criterion range first. I'm going to fix it, and then we need our criterion, which is here, and now the sum range, the average range. Now this is what we do. We get 169. Now if we copy the formula for all the fruits there and change the formatting or the number of numbers after the comma, we get this. The example for average ifs is here again. The same example, Walmart and the wine that costs $6.99. We need to get the average sales here, and this is what we are going to do. So we have the range again, and now I am just going to make this range permanent or fixed, and then we have the criterion range, which in this case, well, the first criterion range is here. That's obviously the price range, and then select the price here as well, and then the second range here is the retailer's name, and then we have Walmart. In the end, we get 67,370 as the average total sales for Walmart for the $6.99 wine. Now, going back to the presentation, the next group of formulas is the count group. So we have again, like, count, countif, and count ifs. When they use a count is obviously used when you need to get, let's say, the number of specific cells. You need to count, let's say, a number of specific cells, and obviously you have count if and count ifs, which basically allow for a condition to be inserted as well. Exactly the same logic as the previous two, but obviously in this case it is counting, it is not summing, it is not averaging, it is counting. Now if I go to the examples here, which just under the average, so what we have here is a range of cells. This is our range of cells, and if we want to count them, we can just use the count formula, and this is going to give us the number of cells in this range, which is 12. Okay, now going to the count if example. So what we have here, we have conditions. The conditions are grapes, pears, apples, oranges, and then the other condition is 150. So we first of all we need to find how many times grapes is actually in this range here. So if I fix the range again with F4, the dollar signs, and then use grapes as the condition, it's going to give us 2. Now if I go and paste this here for the pears, apples and oranges, we get 2, 2, 3, 2. Now this example is slightly different because it requires a sign to be inserted, so the range in this case is going to be the numbers range here, and now we need to put quotes and then put this, and then obviously 150. So the formula is going to go to the range that we have selected, and is going to count all the numbers that are less than 150. That's basically what's going to happen. So as you can see, it gives us a result of 2, and this is obviously the first number that is less than 150, and the second number is this one. So it is correct. Now if we go to the count ifs example, so what we have here is we need to get the players from Real Madrid that are over the age of 30, and in order to do that we have 2 conditions first of all. Now because there's no specific kind of sum range or let's say average range here, we always start with the criterion range. So in this case the first criterion is going to be Real Madrid, so the range should be the teams here. So now if we actually select this range and then select the condition here, and after that we need to select the age of the players on the left, and now I'm going to fix that again, and now I need to use the quotes and bigger sign, and then we can just do this bigger than 30 basically. So this is what we're looking for, how many players from Real Madrid from obviously this table are actually over the age of 33, and it's going to give us 2, because as you can see there are only 2 Real Madrid players here, and both of them at the age of 33, so the formula is correct. Now going back to the presentation, the next group of formulas, or this is more kind of like one formula really, but which has a lot of variations, is the if statement. This is one of the most important formulas. in Excel because it is very applicable in many of the analysis that are done here, of course. So when is that used? So the if statement is used when the user needs to, let's say, assess a statement, and if the statement is correct, it should show a specific input or output in this case, and then if the statement is not correct, then it should show obviously another output. So as you can see, apologies. So as you can see, we have the structure here. So if the expression is true, give us outcome 1. Otherwise, give us outcome 2, for example. Okay. So now, if I go to the example sheet again and find the example for if, which should be just down here. So what we have is we have a number of retailers, as you can see here, and then their turnover and also their profit. Now we need to evaluate whether this makes sense, because obviously in most cases, not in most cases, every single case, the profit cannot be bigger than the turnover. So what we can do is we can start the if statement now and just do something like this. If turnover is less than profit, for example, then we need an output of not true. Otherwise, we need an output of true. And let's see what this is going to show. Apologies again, because I need to use the semicolon instead of the comma. Now the outcome here is not true, the result, because 182 is bigger than 165. So if we just go and copy this formula to all the other cells here, now this is what we are going to get. Now 165 is less than 182, so that's why the evaluation here shows this, the outcome shows not true. Same for obviously Tesco here. However, Asda and Waitrose, they have the numbers seem to be well, correct, let's say, in our example, and the last two examples, again, not true, because the turnover in them is less than the profit. Now going back to the presentation, and the next group of formulas, that is the lookup formulas, VLOOKUP and HLOOKUP. The first formula, VLOOKUP, is probably one of the most frequently used formulas in Excel. So what it does, it looks up and retrieves data from a specific column in a table. What is the structure of the formula? So we need to get, first of all, we need to select the value that needs to be looked up, then obviously the range in which that value needs to be looked up, and then which column the formula should retrieve data from, and then I have written here false, but it can be true as well. False ensures that an accurate outcome is provided, whereas if this is true, the outcome can be approximate as well. So HLOOKUP is pretty similar, but this formula actually retrieves data based on rows rather than columns here. Okay, so if I show you the examples now, it will probably make it more clear. So the market cap of the example here is about companies and their market capitalization, really, in let's say billions of US dollars. So we need to find the market capitalization for Amazon, and in order to do that, we need to use the lookup, and this is how it is used. So as you can see, the lookup value should be put here first. So this is our lookup value, and then the range should be selected. So this is again, I have used the comma instead of the semicolon, and now we select the range, and the range is obviously this here, and then the column that we need to retrieve data from is actually the second column from our range, and then we need an exact outcome. So I have used the commas again. We need to obviously make sure that we use the semicolon, and this is what we get. So as you can see, Amazon's value here, market value, is $684 billion, and this is what we get using the VLOOKUP formula, which is correct. And now the example for the HLOOKUP is basically we have a few names here together with the age for each person here, and we need to find the age of Maria, and in order to do that we can use the HLOOKUP, and the lookup value in this case is Maria, and our range is the range here. So what we can do now is select second row from our range, because that's where we should get the outcome from. And if I just replace the comma with semicolon again, so we get 44. Again, this is an exact match. Okay, now going back to the presentation, after this group of formulas we have concatenate, and this is another very frequently used formula. What it does, it basically allows the user to let's say merge the values of two cells in one cell, really, or more than obviously two cells, as you can see from the structure of the formula here. Okay, so if I go to the example sheet again and find the example for concatenate to make it more clear. Now what we have here is we have a column of first names, and then we have a column of surnames as well. Okay, but what we need is we want to put the first name and the surname in one cell, and we can also put space between the first name and the second name. So in order to do that, we start typing concatenate, and then we open the bracket, and then we select the first name. Now we need quote and then space, and then again closing quote, and then the second name, which in this case is C59. That's cell C59. Now we close this, and what we get is, after replacing again the comma with the semicolon, we get Jimmy Connor, and we can just copy the formula for all the other examples. So this is how we use the concatenate formula. Now going back to the slide again, the next set of formulas is max and min. So it's easy to guess what these formulas actually do. So the max formula allows for the maximum value for a specific range to be let's say shown as the outcome here, whereas the minimum does the same but for the minimum value. And again, the structure of both formulas is very similar. So you have max, and then we need the range in which to get the maximum value from, and then the minimum is pretty much the same thing. Now, just to show you the example, here's what we get, and now the maximum is from this range here. The maximum is 93, and then minimum is 20. Okay, now the next slide has AND and OR. So these are two logical functions which are very often used, especially in combination with the if statement formula that we discussed earlier in this course. So AND basically is a logical function which allows to check whether multiple statements are true. It is going to show false if one statement, for example, is false, but it is going to show true only in the case where all statements are actually correct. Whereas, for example, OR will show true when at least one of the statements that we have actually added is true. So if we have, like, 3 statements, as in this case here, and 2 of them are false, 1 is true, it is going to show true. Now, I want to show you the examples for these formulas as well. So if I start with AND, so AND this, let's say, is if I58 is equal to let's say I59, so obviously 20 is not equal to 36. That's why AND is not going to give us true. So this is just one condition, though. If we can also insert another condition, and that can be let's say this is less than 63. Now as you can see, we have one condition which is not true. This is the condition that is not true, and then the second condition is true, however, and shows us false, and that is the main difference between AND and OR. Now if I show you the same example but with OR, so this equal to I59 and then I60, again I need to use the semicolon, so I60 is less than I61. So this will show us true. As you can see, it does show us true, and as I said, this is the main difference between AND and OR. So here, for example, what we can do, we can change the sign in the first statement or equation, and then we can just say less again. So now both of them are true. Now AND is going to give us true as well. So this is what we get here. Okay, so going to the next set of formulas, we have proper, lower, and upper. So proper, so all these functions are actually used for text, really, and they're usually used to kind of change, let's say, the capitalization of the letters, really. So basically, proper is used when a range has text that is not formatted correctly. There might be capital letters where there should be, let's say, lowercase letters, and that's what proper is used for. It goes there and it changes that. The structure, again, very easy. We just need to select the range. Lower is basically what it does. Once we select the range or the cell, it will convert all letters, all characters into small case, lowercase letters, really. Whereas upper does the opposite. So now, if I show you the examples for these functions as well, which here. They're actually on this side. And now I can go and use proper, for example, here. Okay, if I use proper and select this, for example, this is what I get as my end result. So all words will start with a capital letter, and everything that was capital before and was not supposed to be, of course, has been changed to lowercase, as you can see here. Okay, now I can do the same for the rest of the examples, and just to show you. Okay, so this is what proper does. Now if I go and use the lower function again for all of them, so as you can see, the lower function just converts everything into lowercase letters, really. So here we go, just to show you everything here. Okay, so as you can see, this example here has quite a few capital letters, and all of them actually just converted into lowercase letters. Now just to show you the example with upper, which is pretty much the opposite of lower, and this is what upper does. Okay, converts everything into capital letters. Okay, now going back to the presentation. Now the next two functions we have are trim and clean. Trim is a very useful function because it removes any unnecessary empty spaces in a statement, and the structure again is like very, very simple. All we need to do is actually select the cell or the range. Clean does something a little bit different. It is used to remove non-printable characters in Excel. Again, the structure is is the same as obviously the trim function. So let me show you what I mean by this by giving you a couple of examples. Okay, now going down here, let me just delete this. Now what I can do is I can use the trim function here. So as you can see, this example here has quite a few spaces between the different words here. Okay, so what trim is going to do, it is going to just remove the unnecessary spaces there. It is going to leave just one space between each word, and this is what it does. Now if I show you that for all of them, you're going to see more clearly, and this is what we get. Okay, now to demonstrate how clean works as well, so clean usually removes non-printable characters, and this character here, this question mark, is actually non-printable. Is a non-printable character. Okay, and now what we can do is we can select this range or this cell, and we can use clean here. So as you can see, clean removes the non-printable character, okay, but it does not remove the unnecessary spaces between the two words. So what we can do, we can use trim on top of clean this, remove the unnecessary space as well, and this is what we get in the end. Okay, so right, so this was the example for clean. Okay, so this is basically the end of the first part of this course. I really hope that you enjoyed it, and I would like to leave you again with another quote that I really like. Repetition is the mother of learning, and it has helped me a lot through all the different challenges that I have faced so far, and I really hope that this is going to motivate you to just like keep going really, and just learn and just go through again, let's say, through some of the things that we discussed so far. Okay, and if you have any questions, do not hesitate to contact me using the comment section. Okay, so have a good day or evening.